Greetings and welcome to a review of Warcraft. Yeah. Unfortunately, the local theater did not have any matinee showings of this movie this morning. Yeah, they wanted everyone to go into the HD theater or into the 3D theater to sell more tickets, I guess. Well, it backfired because there were only 25 of us on a Friday watching Warcraft. Thoroughly enjoying how truly awful this movie actually is. Yeah. Spoilers. Yeah, yeah. I've done run-throughs of the game. I haven't posted anything. I don't own the game. It's an online thing. I've walked through the Bat World. So, yeah, the movie is not the game. The movie just takes elements of the game in a Lord of the Rings / Game of Thrones like mashup and decides, yeah, humans and orcs get to fight. And there's hybrid ones that turn green and stuff. And, yeah. No. It's just baffling how messed up it is. Although I must say that the Dungeons and Dragons live action movie from 16 years ago was actually worse. This is not. I think they got like 24% on Rotten Tomatoes now. I would say it's probably 37% actually. It's a little better than 20. It's a 2-star movie you can have playing in the background under big screen TV during an actual World of Warcraft gameplay session. But yeah, and then marvel at the weird crossover imagery that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to knock offhandedly about it just because it's such a mess. That parts of it actually worked just because they were so comically bad. So yeah, there's your jump up in your score for the movie because it's just wow. Start off with, they decide to do sort of a quasi-biblical parable involving a male orc and his mate who's about to give birth. And at some point, the baby will be left going down the river like Moses. Yeah, I don't know why that's in there. Just, and then they mix in pagan mages, they mix in magic and wizards, warlocks, and they don't know whether to call them witches or warlocks or mages or guardians. Guardians of Gakul is a reference to that. It's Cloud City. Also, yeah. Or you could say that Guardians of Gakul borrowed it from Warcraft, which they probably did. Because Warcraft's been around for years, many years. But it borrows liberally from Dungeons and Dragons and any other fantasy adventure thing. It borrows liberally from The Lord of the Rings a lot. Except the orcs in this version aren't dead elves that have been resurrected. They are brutish Neanderthals from like how we thought of Neanderthals like years ago before we realized that they didn't really quite look like that. But these brutish Neanderthals have these odd cuspids and bicuspids, these odd sort of fangs. But they have the fangs underneath. And the CGI fangs are constantly going. Some of them are rubbery, fake plastic. So they actually move. Yeah, which ironically sort of looks badass, but if you think about it scientifically, that species would die out because they wouldn't be able to eat. If their tusks were that large, they would have a real problem trying to actually chew food and swallow it because constantly their cuspids and bicuspids and their fangs, basically, would be biting into their upper lip and lower lip constantly and like messing up their dentin. They wouldn't be able to. The only thing they'd be able to chew would be like meat off bones and stuff, and then that's it. They couldn't actually chew the rest of it. They could bite it and tear it, but couldn't actually. You know that old thing. Molars grind, your canines tear. Your incisors bite right through. So if they're incisors, yeah, they can go. But like canines will tear. Right? They're canines. So, yeah, it's they didn't think that out too well. Yeah, hopefully they take the fake fangs out when they eat. The other part of the world is that the evil orc commander wants to go to great lengths to travel to other realms via a wormhole-like doorway from several stories. But that's fine. Okay, they have stargates, they have wormholes, they have whatever. They call it a magic doorway, but it's a wormhole. Uh, they need humans or other people to power the doorway using their soul energy, I guess. How very Asian. Chi energy, Gaia, that kind of thing. Their soul energy, which yeah, that would imply that they're all wizards that have soul energy that lasts out somehow. Not quite too sure on that one. But then they open a doorway to the human world and they go there. There's a kingdom, it's all green and everything. Because their world is dying. Because the bad guy did all this stuff to their world and it's like, why don't they just defeat the bad guy? They bring that up later. But yeah. They get to this weird kingdom where this guy, like 3 or 4 times in the story, says that he's the king, right? And he, of course, they have the board game out there in his, they're planning for battle and they have the board game. That was clever. That was probably one of the few clever moments in the movie where they had their strategy board game laid out thing was actually literally the hexagonal thing from the board game. That was cute, but the rest of it was kind of like, no. The Guardian. The Guardian wants to create a golem out of clay. And they might say, oh, like the golem, Lord of the Rings. But actually, the original golem idea is a creature created from clay that kills people. That's the original idea. It's like a demon sort of mythology, weirdy thing. So that makes sense. So I'll buy that. Giant golem thing. Actually, yeah, Gollum, the small golem, as in Lord of the Rings, is not consistent with that story. He wouldn't be an ex-elf. But Tolkien was taking liberties. So that's fine. Tolkien also made the High Elves. In this movie, the High Elves are literalized as floating in a cloud city. A la Guardians of Gahul, and a la Star Wars, and a la several other things, including, I think, Beastmaster as well. Beastmaster. Yeah, the orc guy kind of looked like a Beastmaster character. Or even a He-Man. But, yeah, wasn't the castle of She-Ra, wasn't that in the clouds? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of mythology things, funky things going on. The king, he keeps saying this is his sister, the queen, and then a couple of times somebody asks him, how is that possible? They're like they're husband and wife, but sister. They're trying to imply, I guess, they're incestuous or something, but she looks nothing like him, so clearly she's not his actual biological sister. She's sort of the queen's consort. Why didn't they just say that? Consort. It's not really the queen. She can't be the queen. She's just the sort of the other consort. Were they implying that people who play World of Warcraft are to their cousins and relatives? That's kind of mean. They're probably not. But yeah, so that would be twisted. But I'm sure they weren't. Yeah, they kind of were. But yeah, it's like, what were they in the movie? They were being mean. Also, the orcs are like kind of ridiculous in the battle scene. It's as ridiculous as like Transformers again with Michael Bay with all the orcs flying around. It's very similar. All over the Battle of the Five Armies and Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit. That was actually less kinetic than this one. The battle was better in this one. So they improved on the battle. It's not a sequel. It's ripping it off. So they ripped it off. I said the same thing about the Dungeons and Dragons one when they threw in 2000. When they threw in a Senate scene reminiscent of the Star Wars Attack of the Clones, the first Star Wars, not Attack of the Clones, Phantom Menace, there was a councilman scene that was really boring. They just didn't know, Lucas didn't know how to direct a council scene. And this other movie that came out 2 years later was actually better at doing a council scene than Star Wars did it. In this movie, however, that's turned on its head and it's just as boring as it was in Star Wars. Well, at least Abrams just said, "Oh, we're not going to see the council scene." They just get blown up. That's the opposite of that. No, you got to show some of that. Yeah, no, the new Star Wars movie didn't do that right. You have a Guardian who is clearly like working both sides from the very beginning. Spoilers. It's like how else the humans in the story don't have magical powers. It's clear the wizards are the ones with magical powers. The humans are humans. There's humans. They don't have any kind of special abilities. We meet up with a young wizard apprentice who is in the story, and he's like, he wants to go visit the Guardian and learn stuff from him, and he takes some of his stuff, and then the Guardian guy comes and gets pissed and burns up all those papers that he's got because he's doing research on the doorway. It's like, I don't know why the guy, and that's giving spoilers, I don't know why the King guy and the other ones let him do that. And I don't know why the Guardian guy like didn't know if he's a super powerful, all-seeing wizard. He didn't know that there was... The kid took the book. You think he would. And all they say about the book, which is a necromancer kind of thing. Book of the Dead kind of thing. It has a little skull on it. It's like, yeah, for mythologies and that world, I guess. It's the little symbol from the game. Yeah, I don't play that game, really. I've just done walkthroughs. I don't do that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that I know what it is. But yeah, it's like, yeah, it just didn't make sense. The pieces didn't go together. There's also this half-orc lady that they rescue that at one point the two hot-headed young men are out there in the wilds with her because they, I guess, decide to go out with her somewhere out into the wilds, probably to get lucky. And she warns them that they won't because she could actually hurt them. Which I saw coming a mile away the minute they went out into the wilds with them, and so did everyone else in the audience. And it's like everybody was all like, "Oh, she's gonna like mess with." They're gonna try to do something, and she's gonna kick their ass. But they didn't even go that far. They just said, she just warns them, "Oh, don't do anything to me. Don't try to lie with me. Ha! I will defeat you and crush you. Your bones are brittle. Ah!" It's like I would have liked to actually had they shouldn't have told. They should have showed. They should have had the wizard kid like I want to totally get with this chick. And she should have gone like like thrown him across the room. That would have been, or the ground. That would have been funnier. It's like, yeah, you can't handle me. That would have been cooler. They should have done that. They should have done that joke. They didn't do that joke. Because that would have been more in line with the game. This person is trying to have me. I understand that on the actual game, when people play online, that on occasion there are asshole troll people that go on there and attempt to have like cyber sex game rape on there. The game characters try to do that, and it's like, that's really stupid. Not only is that's messed up, but it's like in the game there's like these assholes that go around in there and try to ruin the game for everybody by being sexist jerks. Well, pretty. And now this movie is out, and they downplay that and do the other stuff. Yeah, I'm sure the movie was not thinking of that. I'm sure the movie didn't want to go there at all, so that's why it had that one line in there, saying like, "Oh, don't be like those trolls on the game and being sexist." Like half the time, it's like that episode of Big Bang Theory where they were playing actually, I think they were playing D&D. They weren't playing World of Warcraft, but it's like that. And they were playing D&D, and I think they did a World of Warcraft one where one of the characters says to the other one, "You know that orc princess you were in love with? That was the other one. Yeah, that was World of Warcraft. That orc princess you were in love with turned out to be a man." And that was the joke. But what would have made that joke funnier in that episode would be to have him say, "I didn't mind. Oh my, I'm gonna go back there." Because yeah, I know they're all like dudes. There was a sausage fest in this movie. There weren't very many women. But Sausage Party looks terrible, that new sausage movie. But here we have, orcs in Warcraft. And the orcs want to make a doorway get to the human world. Another one, even though they've already gotten there. They want to bring their army through the doorway. And it gets really convoluted and stupid. And except for a couple of weird jokes in the board game scene and all that, there were some moments where you laughed. I think, yeah, there were some moments where there was something funny in there, but it was usually a reference to something else. I haven't seen any Game of Thrones, but I'm willing to bet that half those jokes are stolen right out of Game of Thrones. I'm willing to bet they are. I'm not going to bet money, but I'm willing to bet they are. Because I didn't recognize them, but they were similar enough that you're probably borrowing from George R. R. Martin. It sounds like the kind of stuff he'd write. Yeah. So it's a mismatch. Everything. Eventually, it's revealed the Guardian is actually working for the other side, working for the demon creature bad guy. Oh, and the hero is called Catgut, which every time they said his name, I laughed. It's just Catgut. It's not as funny as Kitty Rage from from Battlefield, from After Earth, but it is funny. I don't think they intended to name him that, but yeah, the names were weird. I will name you Rawcrawler. The orc guy names the baby before he goes into battle to obviously sacrifice himself. Yeah, of course. So they can do the other scene. And he gives the baby this like weird orc name, and she like grumbles and walks away. It's supposed to be sad. There's a crescendo or whatever. And I think it's a reference to the game, but I couldn't tell you whether it was or not. Like, oh, his name will be Dumbo or something. I don't know. But, so I'm assuming that because the audience was as baffled as I was that whatever that reference was from was probably from something else. There was, at one point, they mentioned a city called Erowyn. That was funny. Lord of the Rings. Yeah. The high elf guys look like elves, sort of. Enough that you would say, oh yeah, those guys. And the ending is ripped off from the Return of the King. Yeah. Except it's not the king, it's the new king. But it's still Return of the King. But yeah. But yeah, it's another king. There's a big battle at the end. The chieftains and kings fight. And the chieftain fights the devil guy in a scene that's kind of a ripoff of X-Men The Last Stand, in which they're both using their powers to like completely drain each other and then rip each other apart and then come back together and stuff. That was X-Men The Last Stand. Wow, let's pay homage to that. Great. That movie wasn't that good. Why pay homage to it? And so, yeah, I don't want to give it all away. It just came out, but there's a lot of it for you. A lot of spoilers in this. But because the narrative is simplistic and at the same time overcomplicated, I'm not giving too much away because it's really confusing anyway. But near as I can tell from the narrative, that's what's going on. So yeah. There we go. I decided to do a Silly Kelly review of Warcraft. He's back. Silly Kelly. Yeah, I came back to do some Q lines, but we didn't do any filming last night. So, but yeah, so there we are. Anyway, so yeah, I could do some work lines. Auto-tuned work lines. Oh yeah, and one of the orcs had he was all muscular and super muscles everywhere, but it made his head look small. Yeah. I don't know what that movie was trying to be. These big, muscly orc guys are so strong and powerful. Oh. The audience liked the part in which one of them shafted went underneath the orc and like cut him right in the nuts, like through the ass. There's remarkably little blood considering how many people died in this. It's like, it's that fake off-screen blood. You're like, his head comes off. There's like no blood. Oh, this guy was no blood. Oh, there's a little green blood from somebody when they die, but I won't give away who. But yeah, and there was a really hideous CGI baby in it, made out of green ooze stuff, which To which I said, in the theater, got a laugh out of everybody. I said, is that supposed to be Shrek as a baby? It's like, oh, fuck it. That was probably the only good scene. Shrek. Oh, well, they're going to reference Shrek. That's interesting. Oops. Donkey, what are you doing? Hey, Shrek. You know I don't love Fiona. I love you, Donkey. What, Shrek? Oh, sick. That's nasty, man. Look, this is a Warcraft movie where I'm gonna take you behind the barn. And I know you couldn't take me, but well, aye. It's like, well, okay, Shrek. Ew. Yeah, okay. Fiona's all pouty. Like, damn it. I knew it! Those two were screwing each other. Oh, shit. Yeah, Warcraft. It's not that good. It's 2 stars. Maybe, like, 2. It's 2 stars. Yeah. However, Dungeons and Dragons from back in the day, that was less than a half star. Yeah, God. It was a half star. Oops. There you go. There's your sign.